Thank you.
Ben's lost nothing.
Thank you very much. Report community engagement 5.5.
Thank you. Good afternoon, councillors. So today I've got 3 reports. One of them is we're going to talk about a suggested approach for community engagement to the annual plan. So we're starting to develop the annual plan, and that basically confirms what our budget is going to be for the next financial year. Traditionally, we have gone out and done a formal consultation process, which has been set out in the Local Government Act. The Local Government Act was changed a few years ago. It recognised that what we know as the ECP is quite a formal process, and it only appeals to some sectors of our community. So basically, they've amended the Local Government Act so we can do some more targeted engagement with our community, and in the hope of getting better engagement with our community. So feedback that sort of goes both ways. So what this means is that if there is no material difference between what we propose for year 3 of the long-term plan and what our budget, we think our budget will be for 2017, it means we don't have to go down that formal consultation process. And yeah, so it allows flexibility in terms of some community engagement. So the Act is silent on what a significant or material difference is.
These were my questions.
But we have our significant engagement policy, and this policy says for different matters what level of consultation we'll use. And there's five different things on it's kind of like a spectrum, and it goes from inform, which is where we just go out and tell the community about something, or it goes right up to just have a draw.
We can make a decision for us, basically. We just abide by what they think.
Yeah. So we think that as staff, we think that if there's no significant or high level CapEx project was added or removed from what was provided in year 3 of the LTP, and if any accumulated changes do not result in a rates take that is material difference to what is predicted in year 3 of the LTP, then we are comfortable with not going out and doing the formal consultation. Of course, there is sectors of our community who and put in a formal submission every year, and they expect that in March and April each year we will be going through this process. So we will need to have some good information on what our changed approach is. So I'm just about to hand around this one. So what we're thinking is that we could potentially run a feedback period in early December for a few weeks. And this would go out to the community and say, we're looking for your ideas, in particular what projects you think we would like to go with, and we can use that. So the benefit in doing that and then we put out a draft document, and then we ask for comments from our community. Basically what it means is it gives us, if members of our community come back with some really good ideas and suggestions, it gives a greater time period for us to do some research and look into the costings and all those sorts of things. And we also wondered about having some sort of drop-in sessions where people can come in and talk to councillors and give their viewpoints and that kind of thing. And we can also use those to feed into the process, because we recognise that the hearings process where people come and they have their 10 minutes, it can be quite daunting for members of the public to come and speak to councillors. So hopefully the drop-in sessions will work a little bit better. And so yeah, the drop-in sessions sort of format has been used earlier on the year in the Waikato traffic. And yeah, we had some really good results. So that is what we're kind of thinking. So
Thank you. My only concern is already we get in the neck for lack of engagement with the community, and that we don't, as a council, we don't listen, etc. And I'm concerned that if we go down this track, and don't get me wrong, I'm not against it, but we may very well get it down a little bit more. I think we probably offset that by saying, maybe looking at the feedback situation and the drop-in centres will counteract that. I'm just interested in feedback. We'll start with Councillor Lee and work around the table.
Through the chair. Yeah, thanks, Tony. I was quite interested in the report. I do agree with it, but I disagree with some of your reasons, because it's going to be a lot less work for you, of course, but it might be a bit more for us. But the concept of, like we've already started this today, the open forum, and that's exactly what this is going to be. It's just going to give those people a little bit longer. They won't have the stress and worry about other people's submitters sitting back there, listening to what they're submitting or what they're asking council about. So I think it's a good idea, a good policy,
I was actually ready to move the report, Mr. Chairman. I'm completely on
second.
Okay, I'll move. And I'll second. But that doesn't.
Before I put that motion, we'll just carry on with the feedback.
I'm just looking at the public figures here. You say 3 at Upper Atiamuri, 10 at Tiro and Arakuni, 20 at Kara and 30 at Tokorot. Let me tell you, in my observation in Tiro, that we never got less than 40 to 50 people there, and I've been there the last 10 years.
so we have in our annual plan. So in Tiro there has been a few public meetings over the years. So my report references that the ones that we do for annual plan. So we do an annual plan public meeting every year, and at the annual plan public meetings, the average number would have been about 10. I know that in some of the other public meetings that have been held in relation to some of the topics, some of the the relevant topics at the time, and I think that what that says to me is that members of the community will engage on topics that they are interested in. So if we move down this road where it's sort of more topical based and we're engaging specifically on those topics, then people are more likely to engage, rather than when we go out for annual plan public meetings, it's just an open sort of thing. So yeah, so what that kind of says to me is that when there's issues such as the Tito pools and those sorts of things, people are more likely to engage and come along to sessions or that kind of thing, rather than just the annual plan meetings, which are just, this is what we're planning on doing for the year.
So we're telling people, so this is my observation, so with this, we're telling people when to turn up. I really don't, to me, council should be open, we should be seen as open. Where submissions being read, I've been here quite a few times. some of the council might remember. But, you know, we've been looked at as you know, closed council. That's what the people are saying out there. I mean, you know, with worship the mayor opening up the forums, that's fantastic. But we shouldn't shut off the other.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I may, what we're trying to achieve here, Councillor Shopper, is actually giving people the opportunity to have a voice in a less formal way, I guess, and as Mr. Mason has identified, that we are struggling to get people to sorry. Yeah, it was something, wasn't it? It should be meditating. You know, it actually, we just, people tend to not engage. When we go out with a document that's about that thick, that says, here's all the things that we're looking to do, most people don't read it. They've got no interest in it. They don't pick up on those things. Whereas this gives us an opportunity for people to come in and just almost chew the fat and discuss things and throw their ideas on. So I think it's, personally, my personal opinion is it's going to be a lot more engaging and a lot more interactive and hopefully a lot more productive than what we've seen in the past. And you're certainly right, you know, on an issues-based topics, TRA tends to get up in arms, and I actually got a very nice copy there the other day, so I think I might be forgiven almost, but it's, yeah, this hopefully will make those sessions more productive.
Okay, why can't we have both?
One thing, again, the Local Government Act has actually given us the opportunity to try and take some of the bureaucracy out of this and the cost out of it in terms of staff time and so on. We certainly need to go through this exercise when we do the long-term plan, because that is the footprint, that's the roadway for the next 10 years, and that's really significant, and we want everyone engaged, and we will go through a formal process. This is more around just saying, hey, we've already done that. We did that 3 years ago when we did the last long-term plan. All we're doing is reiterating and confirming that we're all still on track to meet those budget expectations and those outcomes from that document 3 years ago. That's why there's not as much requirement. Next year, certainly the long-term plan will be out there talking to everyone and fully engaged, but it's an opportunity for us to basically keep costs down and be more productive.
So am I getting this right? So we're putting a price on communication with the people out there.
We're putting a cost on the cost of having to justify what we've already agreed 3 years ago versus continuing to do the proactive things we normally do. At the end of the day, we'll have to pull staff away from doing other things to really just reiterate and justify what you guys have already agreed 3 years ago and what the community agreed to. And as I say, if there's significant change, then that's a different story. That's when we would have to go out and consult, because we've gone away from what the long-term plan said that we would do 3 years ago.
Why don't we put that out to the people? As a consulting. Why don't we consult the people what they want?
Well, I'm sure that if somebody came along, through you, Mr. Chairman, sorry, they can say that we would like to go back the old way, but I have to agree with having attended a number of annual plan meetings. They are very, very poorly attended. I've been to a meeting that had nobody.
Yeah, all those councils.
I have been to a meeting that had 3. I did go to the meeting in Tieri after the annual plan. I didn't stay for it all last time. It was very poorly attended in comparison with the swimming pool meeting where the whole hall was full, which Craig had a great day at. I tend to agree with Councillor Van Rooyen and Councillor Lee. Let's try this way.
Okay.
Councillor Bell.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it's good because it is a big expense to do a full consultation and all the meetings and everything. So, but I do know that there are people out there that will think, oh, this is just council trying to get away with not talking to us. So I think perhaps if we explain it and say, you know, because there are no significant changes and because we don't anticipate any great, any new, what has it put here, any significant changes to the rates take, etc., that we, legislation allows us to blah, blah, blah in order to save ratepayers money on holding just explain it basically, just so they know why we're doing it and that it's not because we want to do things without talking to them.
Am I getting this right? I might have got my wires crossed. Is this got nothing to do with the submission process?
It's got everything to do with the submission. Yeah, it is about the submission.
Replace the submission. Okay, that's okay.
So people will still be able to put a submission in if they wanted to.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we need to make that clear as well that they can still submit.
Just to clarify that, so what we are what we are sort of suggesting is that instead of the formal submission period in March and April, is that we run what we call a feedback process in sort of early December, and that's where people come and they say, for example, I think council should build a new swimming pool or something. So we're just sort of moving it forward and basically not making it so rigid and formal. So it's more sort of a feedback than a formal submission period.
So that there won't be a formal submission period for the annual meeting, unless it's a significant change.
Yes, that's correct.
So, and at this stage, we're not looking to have any major significant changes, are we, that would deem it to be a formal period?
No.
Okay, we'll try and wind up quickly.
Okay, so what we'll probably do is we'll go share like on Facebook, and people will be able to put in written but also be able to we'll probably run something on SurveyMonkey and share that on Facebook and through those sorts of mechanisms. So basically what we're hoping is that it makes it actually easier for people to provide feedback, to actually go and write down a formal submission can be quite daunting for some people, and especially for the younger generation who are used to using something like Facebook and that kind of thing. Hopefully we'll encourage a lot more feedback from them. We've used it in the Waikato concept plan, and we had over 100 people respond. And we're also using it at the moment for the dog talk, and we're having quite high, about 170.
What are we using it for, sorry?
The feedback on the dog.
Well, I'm fully supportive of the minimalist approach. My only question is around the significant change. What if the river trails, this is purely speculative, river trails are submitting to central government, they could get $700,000 with new central government money. They go to the Drive Trust and say, right, you match it, and then everyone comes to us and say, right, there's a huge development here, council should be part of it. Does that mean, because we haven't consulted and we've minimalised the consultation, that is a major change, presumably, to say if we did a big investment and then changed rates to do it? Does that mean we can't do that until 15 or 18 months' time, because we haven't had there's a whole lot of stuff about subdivisions. You know, there's all stuff happening. We need to. I support your idea. It just worries me that if something happens quick, we're buggered because we can't react quick enough, and there's all this stuff about to happen.
And that is exactly my point. Thank you, Councillor Baldwin, about that. When we came on board in the new training, you all came in to see me and you told me about your dreams and what you wanted to bring in. What I want to know, first of all, and what we wanted to actually start, the projects we wanted to put into our annual plan and start working on. So first of all, what was the proposed rate increase for year 3 of the LTP, please? 4.6% rate increase, something like that? Okay, thank you. So at what level does that trigger, if we go over that, what level triggers the special consultative program?
So we need to find that out during the first part of, I think part of the problem, sorry, I will answer the question in a minute, but under the, to answer what Councillor Baldwin was talking about, we end up with that submission in March and we have no ability to actually feed back to the community at all to actually find out whether getting $1 million saying river trail was a good idea. So this process allows, and one of the benefits of it is it actually allows that conversation in December, so that if we did need to go out, then we could actually go for consultation in that period. So the significance of there's a number of different parameters. Is it actually, one of the things, is it really, really important to the community, being avoided irrespective of money? And it could be really simple things, but as a group, which as councillors you decide that is actually
What I
material
want-
that should go out.
Right.
Then
What I want
fin-
to, sorry, I am jumping in
So
here.
the financial, if looking from an extreme situation, the financial position is 10% revenue, so that's $2.5 million. But I would say anything significantly less than that, we would go out anyway. If we had a $2.5 million rate increase, good God, I'm sure we would go out for
Okay.
consultation.
So staff is suggesting that there won't be anything particularly significant and so to follow this process, and that's okay. And just going back to what I said when we talked, there were all these things that people talked about during the election. They talked to people during the election, heard what people wanted, and I can just go down my list here about higher levels of service, looking at a mobile library service to increase the service in Tiro, new microfiche reader for the library, entry statements to town, a TANGS type person to pick up on the Tokeroa development of Tokeroa, dog parks in the district, more dollars for the urban connector to make sure that's going, a covered stand at the sports ground, the bowling club site development of that, Waiho River and walkway development, seats for Taru between Rainier and the supermarket. We have got a list here. The biggie is increased levels of maintenance of berms and roading and footpaths. I see those, if we put those, and whether they'll go in at once, I don't know, but we got that from our community already. So when we say that we aren't having an opportunity, this scares me a little bit, but I like the idea. I want to go out and use drop-in centres most definitely, but I still think we have, if we focus on the likes of Facebook, we're targeting the younger people, and we're missing out on the older generation. I still think everybody must have the opportunity to have comment on everything. So as much as I like it very focused, I still think we have to have that broad approach so that everybody can have their say, because that's what this is about. And yeah, so there's all these I missed out on the art space and exhibition space as well. And a community caravan has come up as well. So I mean, if we do those types of things, they're all going to go in the pot at the front end. I think we've actually probably got a fair representation of what our community is talking about and wants at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And look, I think two things I'd like to say. One is that if at the end of the workshops, so we're talking about the December timeframe to start with here in terms of getting feedback in, and that's also involves you in terms of the workshops. And if we did find there was a whole lot of extra issues like you just described, Your Worship, that we wanted in the pot this year, then that would probably trigger a special consulting process. So it's not off the table, and that will be determined by what we end up having on the table.
I think
But if I could just carry on, one thing that's always, I think, difficult to get a head around, and it's interesting because central government don't do this to themselves, but they require you guys to look out 10 years. They require council to have in fact, they look at, we have to look at 30 years on infrastructure, but you have to have a 10-year long-term plan. And part of the reason for doing that is so that you can identify those aspirations and then prioritise them and put a time frame in place over those 10 years. And I think that's something that needs to be considered as well. So, we're running two processes here, almost in tandem. Annual plan, which is, again, pretty much hopefully ratifying the long-term plan, plus any nice-to-haves or want-to-haves or necessities that we put in there. But then the long-term plan process, which will workshop and so on, will identify all those issues out for the next 10 years. So hopefully that
But
comes
that's after this process.
So
We don't start that next year.
Starts before the job finishes, but yes.
Can I just make another comment, please? I think where this focused consultation has been very, very successful, and it has been with the Taru moving forward and the dog bylaw, is that it's very focused and it's only on really one issue. Whereas the annual plan is on lots and lots of issues. So it just concerns me that we are cutting parts of our community out if we just really, really focus it tightly. That's all.
Yeah, got plenty of rock and hard mess. I believe in the process. I think simplifying it is the right way to go. I am concerned, like everyone else, that we may miss out on some good opportunities to engage. But I think at the end of the day, we need to give it a try. We've got to, it certainly doesn't take that significant engagement off the table should we need to do it next year, but it gives us an early, a chance to get in early and get some runs on the board. So I think that's a good option. If it doesn't work, or we find that we can certainly look at it again, change it for the next time round. But it's worth, I think it's worth looking at, and we'll just run with it and see how it goes. Because I think at the end of the day, we will have to, with all those things that everyone wants, we'll have to go through the submission process anyway. But let's see what happens.
When is this going to come into effect?
Sorry,
1st of July next year.
So this year is still, in March, April, we still do the submissions and things, so nothing has changed.
Oh, no, this is what this is talking about, so, sorry.
So we're currently in the middle of a financial year. Our financial year is 1st of July.
Yeah.
We were operating on the 15-16 annual plan, 16-17 annual plan, sorry. What we're asking you to consider is what we look to put in the budget for the 17-18 annual plan, which is what this is all about. So you're looking really at the start date, 1st of July 2017. And then, as I say, toward this, it'll start early next year, we'll start on the long-term plan process, which will look from 18-19 out.
Okay, so are there submissions going to happen in March, April or something like normal or not?
No.
Possibly.
So,
only if the changes of material.
okay, then, and we've already got the November now, and it's going to be in December.
For the benefit of the new councillors, can I just maybe, I don't know whether this helps, maybe put up on the board how the annual plan and the long-term plan process works, just in terms of timeframes, because it is hard to get your head around. So if we're currently operating on a long-term plan that is 2015 to 2025. Okay. At this point here in 2015, before that, we went out to the community. When I say we, you councillors have got ideas, staff came in with ideas. We went through a huge consultative process around here's what we believe we need to have in our plan, staggered over the next 10 years. And at that point, that was agreed. In the next 3 years from that point, what we basically do is for that next year to 2016, we say, well, this is what we said we're going to do. Are we still going to do that? And if we're going to do anything different, and it's materially different, then we go to the community and talk to them about it. But we do the same in 17. We do the same leading up to 2018, albeit we're also doing the LTP again. So those 3 years really should just be rubber stamping what we agreed back here, hopefully. And I appreciate things change and we do get urgent. At this point here, we get rid of all that and we look at another 3 years to 2018. So we look at that 10-year period. And again, we go out for a full consultation.
2028.
Sorry, 2028. Thank you. And we go through that full, we basically say, snapshot of it for the future and we create a crystal ball. We believe we need to do all these things to get the district to where we want it to be in 2028. And here's how we're going to do it year on year on year. And looking at all those different things, we believe there will be a rate increase of 4% here and 1% there and 3% there and so on. And that's really what we're working to now. So as has been said, 4.6% is what we have in the budget for 17-18. And pretty much the community has already signed that off with us because they did it back here. They've probably forgotten, I appreciate that, and we've probably forgotten about it as well, and that's one of the challenges around a 10-year plan. But the reality is they've signed that already. So and what we're saying here is unless there's any material changes or major changes, do we need to go back and get them to re-sign off on the whole plan? Is that fair?
Does that help?
That's about thank you.
Not taking the opportunity away, we're just saying rather than doing it in March, we're actually going to do it in December, January. So Tanya's got, we're going to go back to everybody that's submitted in the last few years and say, have the opportunity, put your submission in now so then we can actually feed it into the budget process now and actually assess it properly. One of the big difficulties we had is when we came in March, and it was a big number, then then you have to sit here and say, well, actually, we don't actually really know what the rest of the community think about this, to be honest. And you actually made a call one way or the other, or decided to leave it for another year. The other one is actually the starting the long-term, this drop-in session and all the other consultation is actually the start of the LTP as well. So the suggestions that come forward may be appropriate for 17-18 or may be appropriate for the 18-28 period. I don't think we're actually taking any opportunity. I think we're just making it a couple of months early so we can actually budget for it properly.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chairman. I totally support that side of it, absolutely, that we bring that consultation period forward. That's a no-brainer as far as... yeah. And yes, I totally support that it's becoming less formal, but I don't want for us to cut any sections of our community off to have the opportunity to submit. And if we've got the drop-in centre, we still have to do the total communication or advertising process for it so that nobody is missed. I don't want just us to ring the Federated Farmers and we're going to talk to you about healthy rivers, because there's a lot of other people out there that are interested in healthy rivers as well. So that's my worry, that we're actually narrowing the focus, and then that just actually exacerbates the perception out there that we are, that we don't like to communicate. So thank you for that.
Yeah, my thoughts in listening to everything is that a lot of us are sitting here given the fact that we're offering more community engagement. There's no doubt that everybody wants that. So if we gave on one hand and have these open forums and so on, it's a great thing. It's good for all of us. But if we take with the other, i.e. no submissions, we just wouldn't look very good at all. So I'd suggest some sort of transition period to maybe later on down the track. We may not need the submissions because we're explaining how that process is going to go. I've said on both sides of the table as far as submission process goes, there's no doubt that it's daunting and so on, and it's extremely formal, but there is a need for that in part of our community for sure.
Yeah, I think like being said, it's not actually going to be taken away, it's just bringing it forward so that we can do that part of it properly when we get to it.
Yes, I was just going to say exactly what you said.
Okay.
One more question. Okay, putting it in December, okay, when everyone is thinking of Christmas in January, okay, there's nobody there. I mean, I don't think it will look good for council, really. But if we go out and say, oh, you've got to have your consultation and things in December, I don't think that would go well out there.
I don't think this time is
all right, I think we've probably talked that one to death, to be honest, and I think everyone's got a reasonable grasp of what's happening. The recommendations on page 45, the motion has been put by Councillor Van Rooyen and seconded by Councillor Lee. We'll put the recommendations, so 1, 2 and 3. All those in favour? Against? Would you like your vote recorded?
No.
Carried. Thank you.
So can I just following up from that, when do we know about whether it triggers the special consultative process or procedure? When will we know that and how will we know that?
Once we go through the budget workshops on the 13th of December, I think we'll have a much better idea then.
And we've got another set of workshops in February, so there's major points come up during that December, January period. We can still actually say on the 7th, 6th, or the end of February, you can say actually there's a trigger that we feel that we need to do the SCP.
Thank you. Right, moving on to page 46.